Okay, so we are starting the video. I need everybody turn around. Don't worry about it, worry about me. Okay. So today we're going to continue working on character traits. I need you to open your notebook, your reading notebook, to your character traits graphic organizer. That's what we glued in the other day. It is this page. Put this in, well, you can use it to hold the page open. But you should be on the page with the graphic organizer for character traits that we glued in the other day, okay? So my smart word is not working, so I can't show you the PowerPoint. So we're just going to go over the anchor chart we have. Okay. So character traits, we said it is a word that describes a character's personality, right?
Yes.
So it's a word that describes a character's personality. We said it is not a physical trait, so it's not how somebody looks. It's not an emotion, which is a feeling. So it's not the character is sad. Now it could be an emotion or a feeling if the character feels like that the whole time, okay? So if it's throughout the story the character feels that way, then we could say it's a character trait. So again, it is a word that describes a character's personality. It is not a physical trait, and it's not a one-time emotion or feeling. How do we figure out what a character trait is? It is inferred by the reader, which means we guess the character trait based on what we read, okay? So you read, and based on what you're reading, you give a guess or an inference into what you think their character trait is, okay? So, things we use to infer or to guess character traits. We use feelings. Remember, we said if they feel something a lot, then that's probably a character trait. Actions, dialogue. So we talked about dialogue. I gave you that graded papers yesterday that said put quotations around dialogue. Evan, quit reading, please. So it said put quotations around dialogue. Do we know what dialogue means?
Yes.
It is when people in your story are talking, they need quotation marks. So when we're writing and we have somebody talking in our writing, we use quotation marks around dialogue. And we can also make inference based on a character's thoughts. So the other day we came up with examples of character traits. We said nosy, naughty, joyful, depressed, trustworthy, dependable, fearless, diligent, truthful, impolite, generous, evil, afraid, disrespectful, truthful, active, and commanding. Okay? So for today's activity, I'm going to read you two books. The first book is Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon. So I'm going to read the book to you, and then we're going to fill out this chart right here together. And then I'll read you another book, and I'll write the title on the board, and I'll let you pick one of two characters from that book, and you're going to fill out a paper I'm going to give you for character traits for that book. For that, you'll write the story title, the character you pick's name, the first trait you choose, the second trait you choose, and for each trait that you choose, you have to give me evidence from the story. So we kind of did this the other day. For evidence from the story, you need to tell me something specific. So let's say in the story that Sally was making fun of Mary. We could put that Sally made fun of Mary as our evidence for her being mean or impolite, okay? So I'm going to start by reading the first story, and then we're going to fill out the first chart together on the board, and then I'm going to let you independently, after I read the second book, do your own character trait page, okay? So So this is Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon. Molly Lou Mellon stood just taller than her dog and was the shortest girl in the first grade. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, "Walk as proudly as you can and the world will look up to you." So she did. Molly Lou Mellon had buck teeth that stuck out so far she could stack pennies on them. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, "Smile big and the world will smile back right alongside you." So that's her looking in the mirror and smiling with her beautiful smile. That's her teeth. Molly Lou Mellon had a voice that sounded like a bullfrog being squeezed by a boa constrictor. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, "Sing out clear and strong and the world will cry tears of joy." So she did. That's her singing. Molly Lou Mellon was often fumble-fingered. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, "Believe in yourself and the world will believe in you too." So that's kind of her making a mess because she's kind of klutzy, okay? So she did. There's her trying to ride a tight wire with a unicycle. Juggling, yeah. Then Molly Lou Mellon moved to a new town. She had to say goodbye to Grandma and all of her friends. This is her moving to the new town. And start in a new school. Ooh, she's starting in a new school. On the first day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Shrimpo in gym class. When the game started, Molly Lou Mellon caught the football, ran under the legs of Ronald Durkin, and scored a touchdown. All the children thought, "Wow, she's good," and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. On the second day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Bucky Tooth Beaver. Molly Lou Mellon took out her pennies, stacked 10 high on her teeth, and smiled as big as day. All the children smiled with glee, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. On the third day of school, Ronald Durkin said, "You sound like a sick duck. Honk, honk." Molly Lou Mellon sang out, "A quack," so clear and strong that it made Ronald Durkin somersault backwards, hit his head, and have to go to the nurse. All the children cried with joy to be free of Ronald Durkin for the rest of the afternoon, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. What is the word we keep hearing about Ronald Durkin?
Foolish.
Foolish. On the fourth day of school, Ronald Durkin said that she had made the snowflake all wrong. But Molly Lou Mellon opened up her paper and revealed the most beautiful snowflake of all. All the children oohed and awed, even Ronald. On the fifth day of school, Ronald Durkin brought Molly Lou Mellon a stacking penny for her tooth and smiled at her. That's nice of Ronald Durkin. Sounds like his way of apologizing. That night, Molly Lou Mellon took out a pencil and paper and wrote a letter to her grandma. "Dear Grandma, I wanted to tell you that everything you told me was exactly right. Love, Molly Lou Mellon." The end. Okay. Now we're going to start working on our paper together. So, the title of this book was Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon, okay? So I'm going to use our chart over here and write that on the board. Now we're going to pick a character from the book. Who were the two main characters that we heard about in the book? Don't flirt. Don't flirt. Lila, who was one of them? All right, and who can tell me the other character we heard about a lot? Blake.
Ronald Durkin.
Ronald Durkin. So do y'all want to do Ronald Durkin or Molly Lou Mellon?
Ronald Durkin.
Okay. So I'm going to write his name down next to character. Okay, and next we need to pick our first character trait. So I want you to look at your graphic organizer, and I want you to kind of come up with what you think would be a good character trait for Ronald Durkin. Now think about it. In the book, we heard one word a lot, so that might be a good one to use because there's probably a lot of examples of it. Evan, what do you think? Disrespectful would be a good one. John, what do you think? Jealous. What is the one that we heard a lot? Nick. What is the foolish? So we might want to use foolish as one of our character traits because that word was used a lot in the book. Now it said he felt foolish. Now, if he had only felt foolish once, would we use it as a character trait?
No.
But it said it a lot, right?
Yeah.
We're going with foolish first. So we need an example from the book of Foolish of how Ronald Durkin was foolish. So I'm looking in my book, and I told you that multiple times in the book it said that he was foolish. Let's see. Here's an example. On the first day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Shrimpo in gym class. When the game started, Molly Lou Mellon caught the football, ran under the legs of Ronald Durkin, and scored a touchdown. All the children thought, wow, she's good, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. So for our evidence for foolish, we can say, for the evidence for foolish, we're going to say, he called Molly Lou Mellon Shrimpo during gym, and then she scored a touchdown and he felt foolish. What are we going to say for our second trait? Who has a good one for Ronald Durkin? We've already used foolish, so we need something that means something else. Tyler B. We're not flirting. Weatherby? You're saying kind. What is the evidence from the text that tells us that Ronald Durkin is kind?
Because at the end, Ronald Durkin gave Molly Lou Melon pennies.
Okay. So people can change over time, and in the end, he was kind. And our evidence is that in the end, he gave Molly Lou Melon stacking pennies for her teeth. So that's a good example and a good character trait.